Hello, parents. This is Dana Kay here with another edition of the Soaring Child Podcast. Today, we have a treat, or should I say, a healthier treat for you. Halloween is just around the corner, and we all know it's a time filled with costumes and decorations, and of course, lots of candy. That air, it's tingled with the scent of autumn leaves, or what you would probably say is fall leaves. I'm Australian. We say autumn, even though I live here in the USA. And the excitement of all those little witches and superheroes and ghosts that are roaming the streets for goodies, it's just palpable. But here is the catch for families of children with ADHD. Halloween can be more of a trick than a treat. The holiday is often laden with foods that are chock full of gluten, dairy, soy, artificial flavors, colors, and you guessed it, an excessive amount of sugar. Ingredients that we've learned can exacerbate ADHD symptoms. While the season may be spooky, what's even more frightening is the potential derailment of the progress we've made in managing these symptoms naturally. But don't fret. This episode is all about reclaiming the magic of Halloween while staying true to our commitment to healthier living. We're going to delve into how you can celebrate this festive occasion without compromising on the dietary needs that keep your family balanced and thriving. From gluten-free, dairy-free treats to activities that involve more fun than sugar, we're going to equip you with some tips and tricks needed to make this Halloween a joyous occasion for everyone in your family. So grab your broomsticks and your cauldrons as we embark on this journey to a happier and healthier Halloween. You don't have to sacrifice fun for well-being. Indeed, the two, they can totally coexist. And here, we are going to show you how to do it. So let's get started. Now, as you know, I teach all the families I work with to change the diet, cut out gluten, dairy, and soy, as well as those artificial flavors and colors and excessive amount of sugar. I've already talked quite a bit on this podcast about why gluten, dairy, and soy should be removed. But if you're new here, I'm going to add the link to one episode in particular that's really thorough. It's episode number 6, the ADHD Diet Part 2. So definitely go and check that out if you're unsure why gluten, dairy, and soy should be removed from the diet. Now, I want to briefly talk about why sugar is bad for our kids. Many parents overlook the importance of blood sugar management because they think of it in connection with diabetes, don't they? Not ADHD. But in reality, though, blood sugar management is important for all of us, whether we have diabetes or not. Unstable blood sugar contributes to a whole host of problems, including an inability to focus and concentrate, increased anxiety and fatigue, and inability to sit still, digestive problems like constipation or diarrhea, a weakened immune system, and so much more. And a sudden blood sugar rise can create hyperactivity or anxiety, whereas a sudden drop in blood sugar can create this sluggish feeling, this crankiness, or lack of focus. Now, anyone with elevated levels of blood sugar can experience adverse effects on mood and executive function, along with a number of additional health issues. Just take a look or take a listen to the following list of symptoms for hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, and think about how similar they are to ADHD symptoms: difficulty listening, inability to focus or stay on task, being easily distracted, quick to get frustrated and sometimes hard to calm down, unexpected anger and or lashing out, unable to sit still. Do any of those symptoms sound like your child with ADHD? I can tell you when my son was really struggling, he had every one of these symptoms in excess. It really makes me wonder, are children that are struggling with these behaviors actually battling ADHD symptoms? Or is it fluctuating blood sugar? There's no way to know as long as the child continues to eat excessive amounts of sugar. One of the mums I've been working with approached me with a problem she was having with her son at school. And she said, the school does great about respecting our requests for all food to be gluten, dairy, and soy free. They don't give him anything without my permission. I'm so thankful for that. But today, his teacher asked me for more candy to keep on hand for him. This is the fourth bag I've provided in just a month of school. Apparently, the teachers hand out multiple pieces of candy every single day to students as a reward for following instructions. I don't want my son to feel left out, but I'm also concerned about the amount of sugar he is consuming. Wow. I mean, I'm sure all of us have gone through a similar scenario. Does this seem counterproductive to anyone else? Why are schools, and I'm going to go on a rant here, why are schools handing out candy, which is scientifically proven to negatively affect behavior to students who are already struggling? This little guy is working so hard to stay calm, stay focused throughout the day, and to keep his hyperactivity in check. But the school is making it even harder. It's time for the system to change. I mean, I could go on and on about it. Food, especially candy, should not be the go to for rewards for students. The ADHD symptoms many children battle with can be tied directly to fluctuating blood sugar. And one of the best forms of blood sugar management is the reduction of sugar and eating a low carbohydrate diet. There are two main types of carbohydrates. We've got our simple and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbs are found in things like sugary drinks, candy, and other foods that provide little to no nutritional benefit, and they can wreak havoc on children with ADHD. Simple carbohydrates raise the blood glucose extremely fast. And as the saying goes, what goes up must come down. The blood sugar spikes rapidly and then falls just as fast, resulting in sluggish, unfocused behavior. Simple carbs should be avoided or seriously limited. Now, complex carbs, on the other hand, come from vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. And complex carbs help sustain steady blood sugar levels, meaning they do not cause a rapid spike and decline in blood sugar. Now, one study concluded that the more sugar hyperactivity or hyperactive children consumed, the more destructive and restless they became. Another study showed a clear correlation between ADHD and children who drank sugar-sweetened beverages. Children with ADHD do not need another thing to make them more impulsive or more hyperactive or more restless. They battle it enough as it is without sugar, keeping on additional challenges. Now, researchers have been studying the correlation between sugar and ADHD for quite some time. And this is one study that noted sugar is a powerful trigger for dopamine release in the brain. Dopamine is one of the brain's chemicals thought to be involved in ADHD. Eating sugar floods brain cells with dopamine, which feels good, because dopamine is our pleasure reward neurotransmitter. So as people consume sugar, their bodies, they get used to it being in there. The brain then builds up this tolerance to the dopamine and will continue to try to get dopamine production back to normal. And this is achieved by reducing the number of dopamine receptors. So it will then take even more sugar to produce the same effect, resulting in a resistance that contributes to cravings even more. And if a person keeps eating sugar, there may be times when brain cells run low on dopamine from being stimulated so frequently. And low dopamine activity is one of the possible causes of ADHD symptoms. This is a vicious cycle, and this vicious cycle may also lead to binge eating and sugar addiction. Now, the American Heart Association recommends children between the ages of 2 and 18 should have less than 25 grams or 6 teaspoons of added sugar daily. Okay, so added sugar is added to the ingredients, not the sugar that's found in fruit. But I want to give you a proviso to that one. If you are eating 2 to 3 servings of fruit per day, that's perfect. It doesn't add to the daily sugar total. But if you're eating 6 to 8 servings of fruit per day, it does obviously add to the daily sugar intake. But I want to say that in my experience working with children with ADHD, this amount of the 6 teaspoons should be cut in half. Caregivers should aim to have less than 12 grams of sugar or 3 teaspoons of added sugar daily. And as I said, this doesn't include natural sugars found in fruits and vegetables, as long as you keep it into your daily intake of 2 to 3 servings. What can be tricky, though, is that sugar can be called so many different things. Now, some code words for sugar include the following: lactose, maltose, dextrose, glucose, xylose, saccharose, sucrose, corn sweetener, corn syrup solids, dehydrated cane juice, dextrin, maltodextrin, malt syrup, molasses, rice syrup, sorghum or sorghum syrup. But did you notice that many of these sugars end in OSE? So when looking at ingredient labels, look for those OSE words and avoid them as much as possible. The less you and your family eat sugar, the healthier you will be. Now, I also want to hit on artificial flavors and colors. The sad reality is that the United States allows certain chemicals into our food supply that other countries ban, restrict, or even require a warning label with. Artificial flavors and colors make this list, and it frustrates me so much. And you'll probably hear me going on a rant as I talk about this, but Attitude magazine released an article about the effects of artificial flavors and colors on ADHD, and it said this: studies published in the Lancet Pediatric, the Journal of Pediatrics, suggest that food additives adversely affect a population of children with ADHD. 2 studies from the United Kingdom are good examples. In 2004, one study, healthy preschoolers, after giving them either a placebo or 20 milligrams of artificial dye mix plus sodium benzoate. They found that when the children received the actual dye and the sodium benzoate, they had a significant increase in hyperactivity. Now, in the second study in 2007, a research team led by UK researcher Donna McCann studied a group of 3-year-olds and 8 or 9-year-olds. It found that both hyperactive children and non-hyperactive children experience increased hyperactivity scores when given artificial food colors and additives, suggesting that the dyes are a general public health concern. Now, starting in 2010, the European Union required the following warning label for all food that contains artificial dyes. So they said you had to have a label that said may have adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Even though the Center for Science and the Public Interest has asked the Food and Drug Administration to add a warning label to these products in the USA, the FDA refused to do so. Frustrating. They claimed that despite the evidence, that these artificial flavors and colors are safe. What I think it boils down to is this: the European Union added the warning label to their foods because they have chosen to restrict the usage of artificial colors until they are proven safe. Okay? Whereas the United States has chosen to continue their usage until they are proven dangerous. That leaves caregivers today with 2 options. They can do like the European Union and avoid artificial colors until they know they are potentially safe, which will probably never happen, or they can do like the United States and continue to allow artificial colors into their family's food and hope they aren't hurting them in the long run. Honestly, I have chosen to side with the European Union, as I'm sure you can probably realize by now, and I hope you will too. Wouldn't you rather err on the side of caution? Wouldn't you rather avoid items that might be dangerous or even for some people can be detrimental, can cause extra hyperactivity? I know that with my son, I don't want to give him anything that gives him extra hyperactivity. Consumers can eat the same type of food in both Britain and the United States and eat very different ingredients. In Britain, they would eat foods made with, you guessed it, real ingredients, like actual food. But in America, they would eat chemicals disguised as foods. Companies use different formulas for American consumers than for those outside the USA. This needs to change, and I'm so passionate about this cause. Consumers in America should be offered the same ingredients as those outside of the USA rather than their chemical counterparts. Thankfully, look, things are beginning to change, but really not fast enough, in my opinion. Several companies have made changes in their product lines to get rid of artificial colors. Unfortunately, there are so many other companies that refuse to remove artificial colors and flavors from their formulas. You and I can help make this happen by changing the way we eat. Companies might not listen to our voices, but they will listen to our money, won't they? If enough of us refuse to buy products that contain artificial food colorings, they will be forced to make a change. That's an overview of why we want to avoid these foods. But how can you actually tell what ingredients are inside a particular product? That's when label reading comes in. When looking at a food label, there is a significant amount of information included. Now, much of that information is helpful, but for our purpose in helping our children with ADHD, there are only 3 areas of the label that we need to focus on: the ingredient list, the amount of added sugar, and the allergen list. The allergen list will include any of the top 8 allergens that are in the product. And these top 8 allergens include milk, eggs, fish, crustacean shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, and soybeans. So, of course, if you see that a product contains gluten, wheat, dairy, or soy, you want to put that item back on the shelf. But there are some gluten-containing grains that do not have to be listed on the allergen label, in particular barley and rye. And as I just explained, artificial flavors and colors are also very detrimental to our children with ADHD. And that's why a simple reading of the allergen list is not enough. We need to, dig a little bit deeper. Now, the next place to check is the ingredient list. One great way to approach labels is to think, if there are ingredients you can't pronounce or you don't know what they are, it's best to avoid that product. That's definitely what I do. And then the final thing to check before purchasing a product is the amount of added sugar. As I already mentioned, children in this country eat way too much sugar. So in order to help our children with ADHD become their best selves, we need to limit their sugar intake. So as I mentioned earlier, the American Heart Association recommends that children eat less than 25 grams or 6 teaspoons of added sugar daily. However, in my experience working with children with ADHD, this amount should be cut in half. Parents should aim to provide their children with less than 12 grams of sugar or 3 teaspoons of added sugar daily. As you can imagine, this makes holidays like Halloween a bit tricky. So for the next couple of minutes, I want to share 5 strategies the families I work with often use to make Halloween healthier and still allow kids to have a fun, enjoyable time. So strategy number 1, some parents ask their children to hand over their candy, and then parents sort through it and give them back one safe piece of candy per day. By doing this, parents are still allowing their children to have candy, but without that massive sugar rush and crash that occurs if children eat it all in one sitting. Strategy number 2, other parents ask their kids to swap out their candy for cash. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my boys love cash. So this is something they now look forward to every single year. My youngest even said to me recently, "Mum, getting money is so much better than getting candy because it's not gone in 5 seconds." Very smart little boy there. Strategy number 3, some families choose to collect candy only from houses that are giving safe candy or candy alternatives. So if you want to look up the Teal Pumpkin Initiative on Google for more information on finding safe houses in your neighborhood, they provide this map that shows these safe houses. You can even put yourself on that map so other kids that can't eat this stuff know that your house is going to be providing better for you candy or other alternatives. Strategy number 4, other families ask their children to swap out their candy that they receive with safe candy they have picked out beforehand. Strategy number 5, finally, some families decide together on a good cause to donate the candy to. We like to donate our candy to Treats for Troops or Ronald McDonald House Charities. One of the most important things parents can do, regardless of which plan they choose to follow, is communicate the plan beforehand and explain why it's so important. There is a really great book that my boys like to read each year. It's called Switch Witch. The book encourages kids to make healthier choices for Halloween. Now, I can hear the question already that you're already probably talking about in your head. What's a safe candy? Do they even exist? Where can I find them? Safe candies do exist. And those are the ones that avoid some of the worst ingredients out there. Ingredients like artificial colors, like red 40 or blue 1, artificial flavors. And of course, like I always say, the top inflammatory foods like gluten, dairy, and soy. Now, some of my absolute favorite brands for better candy are Yum Earth and Enjoy Life. I also like Unreal and Free to Be. And I also love the Natural Candy Store online. So www.naturalcandystore.com, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Parents can filter out ingredients as they search for certain candies. Now, I'm going to pop some links into the show notes of some of my favorite cleaner candy brands. So go and check those out. Guys, I hope those tips and tricks help make Halloween much less scary and much more enjoyable for your family. But I want to take a quick sidestep. Don't go anywhere. I'm sure many of you know that our mission here at the Soaring Child Podcast and the ADHD Thrive Institute is to offer hope, encouragement, and practical solutions to families just like yours. We want to spread the word far and wide that natural strategies can truly be effective in managing ADHD symptoms. But here's the thing, this mission isn't something that I can accomplish alone. That's why I'm reaching out to you, our incredible community of listeners, to help us in this mission. If you found value in this episode or any of the other episodes on this podcast, if you found a glimmer of hope or a strategy that's worked for you, then I urge you to like this episode, subscribe, or follow the Soaring Child podcast, and most importantly, share it with your friends, your family, and anyone who could benefit from this information. Why, you might ask? Because when you like, share, and subscribe, you're not just supporting us, you're also helping us reach more and more people. You're helping us offer hope to more families who are navigating the complexities of raising a child with ADHD. So, guys, please take a moment, hit that like button, follow or subscribe to our podcast, and share this episode with someone who needs it today. Together, we can create this ripple effect of hope and encouragement for families of children with ADHD everywhere. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being part of this journey. And listeners, thank you once again for tuning into this week's episode of The Soaring Child. I'm Dana Kay, your ADHD health practitioner. Keep on thriving.